Morning students. Today we will start new chapter of history. That is what books and burials tells us. Dear children, you may have heard your parents chanting various mantras whenever they go for worship at temples or at home. All these mantras come from Vedas. In earlier time, people don't have the facility of writing materials like paper and pen, so they used to write on the palm leaves. These palm leaves have been dried and preserved for many long years. In starting, Vedas were also written in such palm leaves, and that is called manuscripts. So, what is Vedas? The word Veda means knowledge or wisdom. Vedas are texts of ancient India and sacred books of Hinduism. They are probably the oldest text in the world. According to Hindu tradition, the gods told the Vedas to the rishis. As there was no writing at that time, the rishis kept passing them orally to the next generations and preserved them. So there are four Vedas: the Rig Vedas, the Sam Veda, the Yajur Veda, and the Atha Veda. The Rig Veda was the oldest Veda. The Rig Veda is the oldest Veda which was composed about 3500 years ago. The Rig Veda comprises more than 1000 hymns. Hymns means songs which are sung in the praise of god or goddesses, which have called sukta, meaning well said. These hymns were written in the praise of gods and goddesses and were composed by sages. Some of the important gods mentioned in the Rig Veda are Agni, the god of fire; Indra, a warrior god; Soma, a plant from which specially drink was prepared, being the important ones. These hymns were composed by sages and taught by priests to students with great care. So men composed, learned, and taught most of the hymns, but a few were composed by women as well. Now the next topic arises: how historians study the Rig Veda. Historians like archaeologists find out about the past. But in addition to material remains, means the remaining materials, they examine written sources as well. Like we can take example of manuscript also. It is also a written source. So this is a page from a manuscript of the Rig Veda. This manuscript of the Rig Veda on birch bark was found in Kashmir. It is now preserved in a library in Pune, Maharashtra. Here is one more example of dialogue found in Rig Veda between a sage, means priest, or rishi we can say, named Vishwamitra, and two rivers, Beas and Satluj, that were worshipped as goddesses. Vishwamitra said to rivers, "O rivers, come down from the mountains like two swift horses." Swift means the horses which are moving very fast, like two shining cows that lick their calves. You move like chariots to the sea. Through the power of Indra, you are full of water and wish to unite with one another. Chariot means two-wheeled vehicle for one person, usually driven by two horses. And unite means to join. Now, rivers replied to Vishwamitra, we who are full of water move along the path the gods have made for us. Once we start flowing, we can't be stopped. Why do you pray to us? Here, Vishwamitra requested to rivers, O sisters, please listen to me. The singer who has come from a distance with his chariots and carts, let your waters not rise above our axis so that we can cross safely. Means the water cannot rise above our level so we can move safely. Now rivers agreed and said, we will listen to your prayers so that you can cross safely. So historians point out that this hymn was composed in the area where these rivers flow. They also suggest that the sage lived in a society where horses and cows were valued animals. That is why the rivers are compared to horses and cows. Now our next topic is cattle, horses and chariots. In this topic we will discuss how the wars were fought and why these wars were fought by people. Most of the wars were fought by men. People met and discussed about matters of war and peace in assemblies. They also chose leaders who were often brave and skillful warriors. So, Rig Veda has many prayers for cattle, children, and horses. Battles were fought to capture. Capture means to take something forcefully. So battles were fought to capture cattle, land, water, and people. So some wealth was used for the performance of yajnas. So most of the men took part in these wars. So after the question arises, how the people distributed the wealth captured in the war. So after war, the person who won the war, the major part was kept by the leader. A part was given to the priest, and some of the wealth was kept for yajnas or sacrifices, in which offerings were made into fire, like grain, ghee, milk, and sometimes animals. And rest of the wealth was distributed among the common people. Thank you, students. Have a nice day.